Alright guys, so in this video what we're going to learn is something called classes. Now let's say you have 1,000 functions and you want to subcategorize them. So in order to solve this problem we use classes. Now in order to build a class, what you do is you simply type in class and then your class name. So in this case let's say computer science, and then after that what you do is you open your curly braces and automatically it closes the curly braces and place this semicolon. So hit enter a couple of times and create a workspace for you to work on. Now this is actually your class. This whole is your class. This is your class name. Now there is something called an access specifier. Now I know it sounds a bit confusing, by the end of this video I will try to clear the concept. For now, just focus on what I'm trying to type and what I'm trying to explain. Just remember what I'm typing, and it's better to type as I type, you type in your code blocks and do the thing. Watch the video and then maybe pause it or type in simultaneously and then rewatch it again to clear your misconceptions or if you miss anything. Basically clear your concepts. So now what we do is we type in public. Now there are actually three types of access specifier: public, private and protected, but in this video we're only going to study public. Now after your access specifier is you type a regular colon, not a semicolon. And then after that, in the next line what you do is you type in your function. Now this is a function, a simple function, so we type in void. This is not a function that calculates something or returns something. Now if you don't know what function is, I told you guys in the previous videos what are functions. So for those of the new viewers, if you don't know what this function is, watch the previous videos. So what you type is, this is a simple function. Now you can name this function as employee, EMPLOYEE. now the next thing is you have these empty parameters, and then you can go ahead and type something in the body as cout, and let's say this is an employee function. Now after that what you do is don't forget to end your line or whatever. Since this is a single line function, so end line is not really necessary, so you can omit this end line, it's optional. So what you now have is our fully built class. Now in the int main, how to use this function. Now how do you use this function? Let's say you have 1,000 functions inside computer science. Now let's say this is an employee function and I want to use this function in the int main. Now the way for using is in function is something called objects. Now consider objects as the key to access these functions in the class. Now I repeat, consider objects as the key to access functions inside the class. How do we do that? We type the class name. Well, in this case it's computer science. So and then after the class name a single space, and then you can name any object like let's say EMPOBJ. So that's your employee object. It totally depends. This name totally depends upon you, whether it's what you remember better. Type that name. So this is actually your object. Don't forget the semicolon at the end. Now in this line number 18, you have actually you have built an object name as EMPOBJ that is in this computer science class. Now in the next line what you do is you type your object name. Well, in this case, EMPOBJ, or this is your object which you built right here, and then add a dot separator. Now after that you can see it automatically pops up this function. Now what is happening over here? But before that, don't forget the semicolon. I always forget the semicolon. Now actually what is happening over here is we have our computer science class, and then we built an object. We can name anything we want, and then we wrote the object name, and we called this employee function. So this thing, this computer science right here is the class name, and employee is actually the function. So this is how you can access the employee function. You write the class name, and then you write an object name. You think of an object name, and then what you do is you type in your object name, and then you type a dot separator, and then you type your function name. So you have to practice this syntax in order to master C++, because a lot of the new programmers, what they do is when they see the different aspects of C++, like classes and functions, they actually just give up on these things. Now actually all the beginners do this. They then search on different languages. They go to Java or Python or easier languages, but in order to master a language, you just learn it from start till the end. That's the key. Now this may be a little hard, but this is the way of doing it. Now actually when you go and practice like 2-3 times, then you will get to know. And still, if you don't practice like periodically, like practice like one day and then have a break and then practice another day. That way you'll not get bored also. People get bored building C++ or learning C++ but they actually don't know how cool is C++ and what amazing stuff and what amazing games you can make. When they realize the power of C++, then they know, oh, we should have learned C++. Now actually you can type in return 0, but the modern it's better to write it. So well, in this case we can write return 0. It's like professional programming thing. But if you omit return 0, as I told you in the previous videos, it's your computer is not going to freak out. Now our whole program is built. Now still, if you're confused, just I'm gonna build and run and explain you how it's done, and then one last time I'm gonna explain with that picture. So now this is our regular include IO stream, include this, and our regular syntax of int main. Now for building a class, what you need to do is you type in this class, your class name, and access the specifier, what type of function you are building. Well, in this case we are building a public function, and that function is a simple function, that is employee, that has empty parameters, and that's going to do nothing. That's going to return nothing because it's a simple void function, and it's going to print something on the screen. Well, in this case this is going to print this is an employee function. And then after that we have end this line, and in order to call now this is the tricky part, computer science, your class name, and then you're going to create your object emp obj. Now I told you, and a short trick is to consider this as key to access this object inside this class computer science. This is your class, this is your key. You made a key and then you insert the key into this function. Like, now what I'm saying, inserting a key into this function is not the technical term, it's really to like easy terms. This is a key. These both emp obj are your keys. This right here is your, let's say, treasury or your treasure box, and right over here employee, consider this as the contents of that treasure or treasury or whatever. So come here at the paint, and I'm going to explain a little bit. Now let's say you own a company, the name of the company is Elixir Corporation. Now the CEO knows your whole program, what you're doing. Now you have this class. Now you actually have two classes. So your department of computer science is what we build, the computer science class. Now within that class we built an employee function. So this is pretty much your whole class. This is your function. Now forget the manager, forget the interns, forget the workers. Just focus on what I'm saying. Now this thing there's something remember what I told you about access specifier. When you have a public function, your public function is accessible by other classes, like your something you made in computer science. Your employee of computer science made something, let's say a phone, a smartphone. An employee built a smartphone. That smartphone, the coding of that smartphone, the design of this smartphone, accessible by whole program. It's accessible to math class as well. Now if that employee would have built a smartphone, or they want to kept it secret, so they should have like built private function. So let's say this is just an example to explain, to easily explain. This is not like connected in any way to C++ like officially. So this is just, I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to correlate the things with real life examples. So this is your employee function. Now this is a public function. It can be accessed by this class as well and this class as well, and it can be accessed with the int main as well. So our employee over here is very kind that he made the function public. Math class is also accesses X5P auditorium, final year project auditorium, where students showcase their ideas and pretty much a lot of stuff. They showcase their ideas, and employers come and employ them from there. So, or they just want to share information. So everything that is public is accessible by this class and int main as well. But the boss can access everything, don't forget that. So what I'm trying to explain right here is this. Now I'm going to explain this diagram. Remember this diagram. When I'm going to explain private functions, then I'm going to explain you about what the manager does, what the intern does, what the workers. Now actually these employee, interns and workers, these are, let's say, consider them as public functions, and consider this as private function. Now actually I'm giving the idea of what is a private function. Now in this video specifically we're not going to study private functions, but let's say your manager is launching a secret smartphone, a secret project, but only this members of the department of the computer science know. None of the other class, no department of science nor the outer world knows. Your CEO knows all what is going on, but your department of maths doesn't know what's going on. This FYP auditorium, this auditorium is abandoned. Nothing is going on in the abandoned auditorium, and your employee is not willing to share the information because he works so hard, he want to sell that information. So these all the members of your class, like manager, employee, they all know that the manager has a secret smartphone build, or let's say they all build a secret smartphone build, and that smartphone is called a function. So put it that way. Now that smartphone can either be private or public. Let's say consider that if it is a private, then only this class members can access it. Manager can access it, employee can access, interns can access, workers can access them. And if it's a, let's say, public, let's say it's open source, everyone in the world can access it. So even the FIP auditorium and the class, definitely they can also access it. So this is a short video. I'm trying to no, it's actually not short, it's quite a bit longer. So in the closing remarks of the video, I want to summarize the program one last time. What we did was we built a class computer science, and then this is the access specifier, what type of functions we want to build. Either we want to build public functions, either we want to build private functions or protected functions. For protected, we're going to study that later, and the private maybe in the next couple of videos. So this is a public access specifier, and we have our one function, only one function, that is the employee function, a simple function that's only going to print. And in order to like access that function, what you need to do is you need to build a key, that is in this case emp obj, and then what this key does is, what this object does is, aka key, is it's going to like access the employee function. Now again, in the easy terms, this is your, let's say, treasury, this is your key, and this right here is the content of your treasury. So put it that way. So that this video is a bit longer, I'm sorry for that. So I hope you understand at least 50% or at least more than 50% of the video. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you.